Today on Keep Alive's new show, The Old Man Rants from the Kitchen, we're going to talk today about the fact, should 16-year-olds be allowed to have a driver's license? I'm your host, William Lee, podcaster, podcast producer, and the founder of the Keep Agency for Digital Media Marketing. The news is humming about the 16-year-old young man who, with his friends, decided to go out and just have a good time. They borrowed the car, jumped in, and away they went with an idea of just enjoying life and having, what I said before, a good time. Unfortunately, the time ended up with the car being wrapped around a tree after what the authorities are saying now was a high-speed race of some sort, which ended up in the driver losing control of the car and wrapping it around a tree, instantly killing the driver. For many years now, we've been asking the question, is 16 years old a legal age to be able to drive? Should the state give out driver's licenses and turn the highways over to 16-year-olds who, unfortunately, because of their maturity, really don't show the real skills and ability to handle a vehicle? Some cases, of course, some kids are smarter than others. At least that's what the statistics are showing. More mentally, shall we say, developed. The brain is more stimulated into making right decisions than wrong decisions. But unfortunately, that's a very small percentage. So how do we handle this situation? I've been ranting from the kitchen for years over the fact that every year when there's a graduation, somewhere, a parent is getting a call from the authorities saying, "I'm sorry, your son or daughter has just been killed in a car accident." What can we do? Well, the first thing we can do is look at this question. Now, I'm going to rant about it from here until the end of the time that I'll have on podcasting, simply because I believe in my own mind that 16 years old is not, underline the word is not, a good age for any juvenile to be driving a car, no matter what their maturity rate is. But now let's look at the other question. The other question says at 18, we are more adept to be able to handle these responsibilities with a good understanding of the responsibility of driving a vehicle on the freeways or anywhere as far as that goes. But now we look at the other side of the coin. Well, we have, of course, the motion picture people, the ones that a lot of kids are heroes, like Vin Diesel when he had the wonderful series that he has had, showing everybody that road racing is wonderful. And look at the tradition that we've started now with the Fast and Furious. Isn't that wonderful? We have kids now and younger generation building the fast street racer, a car that can turn on a dime and accelerate from 0 to 6 seconds and hit speeds of 75 to 80 miles an hour. Hey, that's wonderful. They go out, they work because they're still living at home, so it gives them an opportunity to buy those wonderful wide tires and have the suspension changed and the motor build up, and the list goes on, so they can go out in the middle of the darkness and tear up our city streets because, well, that's what Vin Diesel does. Of course, that's Vin Diesel's showbiz. That's business. That's his career. That's where he makes his money. But I don't know if everybody really understands the difference between reality and entertainment. And a younger generation that its mind is not set quite ready to mature to make those decisions are now getting driver's licenses and hopping up their cars. Here's the next problem that we run into when we look at this, and I can rant about this until I'm old and gray. At 18, we have the right to vote. That means that we are more mature, more balanced, and more shall we say, community-orientated. We're taking that step into adulthood where responsibility takes priority. Yes, that's very true, it does. But let's add the recreational drug situation that Washington State is making big taxes off of. Of course, you've heard me talk about that before. Well, I'm not going to go into that episode of where the tax money's going as much as the episode of our kids having to run out there and stop in at the doobie store and get themselves a little marijuana and smoke up a little because, hey, everybody knows, getting high on marijuana, man, hey, that's cool. That's better than alcohol. Well, both of them are equally as dangerous when put into the hands of minors. And those minors or younger adults from the ages of 16 on up are out running vehicles. Now, tell me how somebody can make right decisions like, unfortunately, 90% of the juvenile race does now while they're under these influences. Of course, you're going to come back and say to me, Bill, come on, man. You got to be 21 to get alcohol. You got to be a certain age to get marijuana. Come on, man. You're branding all of us people in the wrong category here. No, I'm not. If you really are going to be honest with yourself, you know that when you were a young person between the ages of 14 to 18 and you wanted a little beer, or a little whiskey or whatever, you could find a way of getting a hold of that without having to worry about being of age or maturity. So let's throw that out the window. Let's be realistic about this thing. What you did in your age when you were growing up has not really changed that much today. It's just got more violent in the aspect of what's happening. Now, this young man in Puyallup wrecked a car around a tree. What did they find next to the car when they started looking at the different possibilities, measuring car tracks and working over the investigation? They found a bottle of rum, an empty bottle of rum. So I would believe in the back of my mind that these kids were having a great time, probably passing around alcohol, while the young man was showing them how cool he was and how fast he could drive like Vin Diesel's Fast and Furious. We'll never know, will we? At the age of 16, his life has now been completed. He's gone. His parents have got that call that every parent absolutely is afraid of. The call that my son or my daughter isn't going to come home tonight. She's or he has died. What are we going to do about all this mess? The age thing is getting to be very interesting, at least to me, because at 18 you supposedly can vote. Of course, a lot of 18-year-olds unfortunately haven't figured that out yet. At the age of 21, you can drink, you can smoke dope, you can race your car, you can be an absolute idiot because your brain is matured. At least that's the way we look at it, isn't it? You're now an adult at 21. Every year I think about these stats. I also think about the fact that you can join the military at a young age. You can go into the Marines if you're physically fit, or come right out of high school and go into any branch of the military. Now the kids are going to say, look, I chose the military. The military trained me. The military brought me to reality. Now I have the right to go out and shoot somebody. Well, act of war, of course. It's a big responsibility when you go into the military, and I'm proud of every one of our soldiers and men and women who have made that choice in that lifestyle that they believe they need to do to protect our freedoms. But let's look at the other side of the coin. Just the other day, I heard a gentleman say, well, if they're old enough to vote and old enough to join the military, they're old enough to drink. They're old enough to own a gun. They're old enough to do all that good stuff that adults do. So let's move the age to 18 and cut all this crap out of the way. How do we look at this, I asked myself. 18 is true. You are now mentally and physically ready to make these decisions, and it is a period of time between the age of 21 when you're allowed to legally drink. I'm sure many kids and young adults today before 18 have already wrapped their lips around a bottle of good hooch or a little beer or wine. So let's take that out of the equation. Let's go back into the responsibility of what we should do as parents and what legislators should do as far as laws to be enacted. I believe that 16 years of age is too young. There should be a program set up that if you are 16 years of age from the time of your birthday until your 18th birthday, that you are allowed to run under a driver's permit, which simply means an adult has to be in the car with 5 years' experience and a driver's license in his pocket before the young man or woman has the ability to start the car. Really understand the responsibility of what goes into owning a car, what a car is all about, how to handle a car, how to understand traffic conditions, laws, and etc. And I don't think that you can take a fast 2-month course, jump into a car with a driver's license, or shall we say just a piece of plastic with your picture on it. That doesn't give you the operation power of being able to handle that vehicle. It doesn't give you common sense. It doesn't give you the ability to make quick decisions. It does not at all give you the ability to understand what you're doing when you jump behind the wheel intoxicated, or jump behind the wheel because your friends want to have a fast race. None of this goes hand in hand. But it does give you the responsibility, if you are on a learning curve, to have respect and to learn over a 24-month period on how that car should operate. It's simple as that. Will I win this war? Will the legislative power to be in Olympia all of a sudden wake up, make more changes in the law? Isn't it interesting that every time that we turn around over this question of 16-year-olds being able to drive, that we do put some more restrictions on it? For instance, you have to go through driver's training, which is a 6-week course, which most 16-year-olds don't retain too long. They retain enough to say, hey, man, I got out there, it was really cool, I drove the car, man, I'm ready, when they're not ready. Or the idea that, we can cut our insurance down if Junior goes through extensive 6 weeks training, or 8 weeks training, or 20 weeks training, whatever it is to, shall we say, lower the cost of insurance for Dad while Junior fakes his way through a driving course. Driving is a responsibility. Driving is something that I believe that takes time to learn. Learn how to drive safely and operate a vehicle with responsibility. I guess this ends my rant. I don't think anybody's going to hear me because I'm always ranting from the kitchen on one subject or another. But I feel really bad for the parents that receive that call. Dear Mr. Jones, today your son or daughter has perished in a car accident. Let's make some better rules. Let's get some communication going with Olympia. Let's start studying this problem and discussing it. And not just with the adults. Let's discuss it with the drivers, the future drivers of America, and get some ideas from them also on how we can make this work for them and for the safety of their lives. If you have any comments, or if you'd like to say, Mr. Lee, your ranting from the kitchen is really unfounded and you should have your head examined, here's what you can do. Write me. It's as simple as that. Just simply email me at Kiba, that's kibaagency@gmail.com. And I'll be more than happy to read on the air, if you prefer, your ranting and raving about my ranting and raving. Because you know why? Because that starts a conversation. And that's what this show is all about. Until we meet again, please remember this. No matter how bad things get, and no matter how life changes, or the possibilities of your dreams fade, if you keep a smiling, you'll always be a winner.